there's many people out there who will be watching, and a lot of people have been hurt before, and how can I forgive, they think, you know, maybe it's another situation, maybe they've been abused, maybe it's an affair, but how can I forgive? Now you are 4 examples of people who have been able to forgive. How, Lynn, how were you able as a mother to forgive the murderers of your child? How can somebody else forgive? How do we do it? And what happens if you don't forgive?
I think it's all about the Lord. It's all about him. And I think because of being a Christian when I was 13 years of age, I gave my life to the Lord. So I've been walking with the Lord for 38 years now. And in that time you learn to trust. And so forgiveness has always been part of my life. And now this had happened, really nothing had changed. You know, God hadn't changed. And I was still the same person. You know, but God was just totally trustworthy. But I think to forgive, really, I think, again, as Mick was saying about the healing, I think when God touches you in such a way, that he heals you in such a way, he gives then the grace, you know, because it's such a big situation. Great grace is needed, you know, and God supplies that. And for me, I think because the pain goes so deep, God has had to go even deeper. He goes deeper than the pain and brings healing. And if I can just share quickly two stories really of how the Lord has, because I think it's as we're being healed really that we're able to forgive. It's not a once and for all thing, but forgiveness is ongoing and we have to keep forgiving. Absolutely. And I think that comes, the Lord has made the way, made provision for us to forgive in healing of our own selves. And for me, God's comfort has quite amazed me. You know, there was 2 days after Paul died, I woke up in the night and I can remember feeling like there was something underneath me. You know, when you wake up, you just think you're lying on something. And I woke up and as I began to sit up, the Lord, just as clear as anything, said, and underneath are the everlasting arms. And it was like they were tangible, you know, it was like I felt, you know, it was like the Lord woke me up to reassure me. And there've been often times like that whenever I've been desperate in the grief, when and I've said to the Lord, I just need you to come now. And you know, when we're in desperate need, all we need to do is to call on him and we ask him to come, and he comes. And there's not been 1 second, not 1 second, when I've felt alone or abandoned or absolutely distraught or overwhelmed, because God he is exactly who he says he is. And whenever I've asked him to come, he's come. And there is, I mean, I could keep you here for months, just story after story. But there was another time when, just at the very beginning, when we need the extra comfort in such a situation, I got up for work and I used to come down at 7 o'clock every morning, and as I came down, you know, important things first, you put the kettle on. And I noticed this morning that as I looked out, you know, just when it's absolutely pitch black but dawn is just breaking, and there was this beautiful star there. And I just thought, isn't that lovely, you know, and never thought much more about it. The next day I came down, happened to look up, oh, there's that star again. 3rd day, 4th day, 5th day, I'm looking now for this star that's in exactly the same place every morning. And I got Mick up and I said, you have to come and see this, it's so beautiful. And as soon as he saw it, he said, oh, it's the morning star. And I thought, oh, of course, you know. But it was like, you know, the only scripture I could remember was, I am the morning star, Jesus said. And then in Revelation, when I looked up Revelation, there was another scripture in chapter 2, and it talks about he who overcomes and keeps my works until the end, to him I will give power over the nations. But then he goes on to say, and I will give him the morning star. And when I looked in the little notes, it says here, the morning star, Jesus himself, heralding the dawn of a new day, is our ultimate reward.
Absolutely.
And I can't tell you what that, you know, it was like God put a show on in the heavens just for me. You know, you just think it was so personal. God's comfort was just so personal. And there are just so many stories, you know, that God just came and comforted me in such a way that the forgiveness has just gone alongside the healing, I think. You know, and as we allow God to comfort us, then we allow him just to touch us, and just some things are just so difficult for us to deal with that we have to leave them to him, and that was one of the things that I found so difficult, and so I just left it with him. But his comfort's been so amazing, so much so that we've been able to comfort others, you know.
It's evident here that whatever you've gone through, there was no way that you could have done this without Jesus Christ. So the question we asked before was to give advice to those who need help. Now I've just come, it's impossible if anyone is going through anything to do it on their own. It's going to have to be through the power of Jesus Christ. People often say, but you know, God doesn't let bad things happen to good people, you know. We're all good people, nothing bad should happen, and if it does happen, I think we often forget that when we give our lives to God, it's then in his hands.
The Lord knows what is in us, and he knows that he can trust us. And almost, it's almost a privilege to experience what we've experienced, because this is the reality of our faith. And if it doesn't work at this level, then it doesn't work. And I think as you go around churches, you realise just how many people live in unforgiveness, and how many people who've been in the situation that we are in who say, I'll never forgive. And never is a long time, because if the never is now, then it will be never in eternity. And I think the very sad thing is that I do believe that lots of people don't get healed because of unforgiveness. But for me, it is more important to be healed spiritually than physically. And I think forgiveness is, it's not just a door, it's not just a gateway, it's a massive entrance. And if we don't forgive, then how can we proclaim the gospel? How can we speak to people who are killing Christians because of their faith? How can we talk about these people? How can we forgive them? I do believe that as we forgive, I think healing will sweep the church. And if anyone is listening to this program and living in unforgiveness, I want to say that, you know, as you learn to forgive, then you will experience a depth of healing that you never thought was possible. And that's not just spiritually, because when you forgive, people are drawn to you. People are absolutely drawn to you, and you'll find for every time you forgive, you'll find there are 1 million people out there who are unforgiving and need to know the way. Jesus said, I am the way. The way is forgiveness. And I listened to Lynn speak just recently at a church, and she said that when we are wounded, God has to go deeper than the wound. And God is able to go deeper than your deepest wounds. And if you'll trust him and you'll give forgiveness, then God will forgive you, and God will heal you and touch you in a way that you maybe have not experienced for a long time, because unforgiveness separates us from God.
Impact, you're working with the police, aren't you?
Yeah, I think for us, you know, when something terrible happens like that, you're looking really for a way forward. And I was saying to God, how do I move on really for this? And anyway, when about 8 weeks later, I came across a meeting called Impact, which stands for In Merseyside, Police and Church Together. And they knew our situation, and they asked me would I be prayer coordinator for the south of Liverpool, and to have a link person in the police, John and Al, in Speak Police Station. And I go in and get requests, really their concerns, and then I get those out to the church.